Dun, 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 dun. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. What's up, party people in the house?
What up, though?
Welcome to Texas Live, one of the sexiest voices in the SFL,
Mr. Master.
Dave Axis. What is up, party people of the SFL? What's going on this Tuesday night? Pre-St. Patrick's Day night. As you can see, I got my hat on, my St. Patrick's Day hat from Ollie's in Lodi, or actually in Stockton, California. I got my Cheers shirt on. Can you see? It says, whoa, oh, I guess I can't show all that. Hold on. I guess we've got to save that for after dark. In the meantime, hopefully you heard the music okay. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Welcome to Season 16, Episode 16. It's a sweet 16, baby. And tomorrow is the 17th, which means today's the 16th. So check this out. Season 16, Episode 16 on the 16th. I mean, I couldn't have planned this any better. What's up? Glad to see everybody in the chat. Welcome to another amazing show. Axis Live. I'm your host, Dave Axis. Check this out. We've got Week 8 recaps. We've got Gunny's Pearls of Wisdom. We've got Next on NETMA. We've got a Survivor Pool update. And on After Dark, we have the new playoff situations. And there has been a pretty good shakeup. And I will let you know all about that on After Dark. In the meantime, I do want to also tell you, let me look at the chat and see if I can see. I promised you guys by today, I told you there will be loyalty badges. There are loyalty badges. 6 of them, baby. 6. And what I did is I took the 4 circles, the unscripted, the unfiltered, the unedited, and the unforgettable, and I made those copper, bronze, silver, and gold. Then I added 2 more just for you peeps because I love you so much. I added, after copper, bronze, silver, and gold, I added a platinum, which has an Axis After Dark flair to it. And then I did a diamond, a Diva diamond, for those of you who subscribed for a year. I don't know what most of that means, but I had a lot of fun making it over the weekend. And I'm glad that you guys are tuning in again tonight, and hopefully you all have your badges next to you. I know Yogi or somebody said, we don't need no stinking badges, but you do need some stinking badges, and I gave them to you. All right, all that being said, let's check out the party people in the house tonight. Let's see who there is. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, Becky. There's a hype train. There's a hype train starting already. It's already 69% on level 1. Of course it's 69%. Where's Hacker when you need him, right? All right, let's check out who are the party people in the house tonight. We've got Tyler Falk in the house, Pink Lisa, Bob Funk, Joey Schwint, Freddie, Corey Mizzou. Corey, I don't know who you are, but welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. Hope you have a good time. Hope you love it. Optimus Klein's in the house, Nate Hall, Charles, Oh, Hacker is in the house. There you go. Frank the Franchise Wade, of course. Boonberry, Fox Highwind, Bullet Beletsky. What up, though? Eddie Gage. Level 1 is complete on the hype train, by the way. Leon Thunderdome is back. Ray Ray's in the house. Ray Ray, hope you had a great birthday on Saturday. And apparently with 3 interceptions, you did have a great birthday. And we'll talk more about that later. Doug Britton's here. Mike All is here. Gunny, of course. Deep Say's in the house. Kevin, good to see you, buddy. Kendra Hall, along with Nate Hall, is in the house. Will Todd is here. Ron Cochran. Bryant Dynasty, my favorite player in the SFL that's from Hawaii. I'm going to miss a bit of this party still at work. I blame Daylight Savings. I agree with you, Bryant. Let's blame Daylight Savings for everything. Hubba Breezy's in the house. Whistle's back. Good to see you, bro. Hugo's here. Benji Matson. The hot, beautiful, wonderful, new hair-colored Pink Lisa is in the house. What? Yep, Pink Lisa got away from being blonde for a little, going back to her roots. You guys can ask her in the chat what that means. Truceman21, Alien Nation is here. Tom Rahman's back. Tom Rahman, I saw your flat bills today, bro. Those are fire, especially the red one. I might have to grab one. Actually, I'll probably grab the blue one, but we'll see. Let me see who else is here. Cam Curtis is in the house. Bum, 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 bum. Yes, Optimus, I do recognize you. You do need love. We all need love. All you need is love. Bum, 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 bum. All right, let's see. Marco Swift, good to see you, bro. I heard that the long arm of the law is going to be a little busy tonight, Marco. So you might have to hold the place down yourself. Looks like who else is here? Harish is in the house. Man, we got a packed house tonight. A lot of peeps jumping in first thing. I guess you guys really care what we say about you or something. I see Charles. Charles says you could serve a medal on the bill of Dave's hat. Dude, come on. This hat is hyped. Hence the hype train. I'm just saying. Is it because of my hat or is it because of subscriptions? I don't know. Either way, I think I hit everybody. Joey Schwinn, if I didn't already say you, I'm saying you again. All right, we got a lot of people in already right from the get-go. Let's go ahead and jump into this amazing show that we have tonight with this amazing panel. We're going to kick things off in the unscripted circle. A man who needs no introduction yet. We're going to give him one anyway because he deserves it. The man, the myth, the legend, Frank the Franchise Wade is back with us. Frank, what's up, bro?
Hey, live, back from the Hacienda. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you're not in a top secret location like you were the other day.
That's right, secret bunker.
You know what, can you talk about it or would you have to kill all of us?
I would have to kill you.
Okay, well,
And I want this show to go on.
Okay, we don't want to die until at least 10:45, maybe 11 o'clock, so let's keep that under wraps for now. In the unfiltered circle. Who's in the unfiltered circle? Does anybody know? Anybody want to guess? I'm going to say it all has to do with a guy named Mike. Mike All, the GM for the Jacksonville Kings. What's up, Mike All? What are you doing, bro?
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me on the pre-St. Patrick's Day show. You're looking live at the new man cave, and I'm glad to be here. And let me just give you a quick Irish proverb. Never scald your lips with another man's porridge, and that holds true because porridge is disgusting. Never eat it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with another man's lips is probably also disgusting. But I do see that you've got the green Bay Packer green Irish thing going on in the background at least.
Yeah, Packers fan, and it just happens to be green. It works out nicely.
Attaboy. All right. In the unedited circle, the one and only glorious, one of two glorious cornerbacks for the glorious Lone Star Glory. Mr. Bo Martin Jr. is back with us. Oh, that's not him. Shit, hold on. That's not what I want to do. There we go. What's up, Bo Martin Jr.?
Boy, what is going on? It is a glorious Tuesday evening, everybody. And, I got to give my boy Mike All a shout out for representing Green Bay Packers. You know how we do green and gold until we dead and cold.
Wait,
but
are
tonight
you a
it's all
Packers
about...
fan too?
Oh, of course, baby. There's not another team to be.
I didn't know that. All right. Anyway, moving on. All right. Hey, by the way, you
no.
saw that. What's up? All right. Apparently, the hype train is at level 3. We are kicking things off this week. We are hyped. By the way, in case you didn't know, so not only do we have loyalty badges now, like I just discussed in the monologue, and from last week, you guys know that we have emotes and we have cheering badges as well. And level 3 cheering badge is actually a picture of my real face with my Axis Live and hat and sunglasses from my logo that says hype, just like we do these hype train, across my chest, made by Cam Curtis himself. So shout out to Cam Curtis for making that for me and for the show. So if you get to level 3, I don't know how many people there will be in level 3, but there probably won't be very many. So if you get to level 3, you get to sport that bad boy. Moving on to the unforgettable circle. This is a man that I swear is always in the unforgettable circle. I don't think he's ever been on a show not being in the unforgettable circle because nearly everything the man says and does is unforgettable. If he's the number 1 draft pick, he's unforgettable. If he's calling a game in the SFL minor league, he's unforgettable. If he's calling a game in the SFL, he's unforgettable. And if he's on NETMA and making predictions on this show, he is unforgettable. And who else is he on top of all that? He is Tyler with a new hat. What's up, Tyler Falk?
I'm hanging in the red. Too many damn cheeseheads here on the panel here
That's
tonight,
what
Dave.
I'm
Come on.
saying.
Skull Vikings. Come on, no.
Okay, so you're Vikings. You guys are 2. Frank, who's your team? Who's your NFL team? Frank the Franchise Wade. Uh-oh. Can Frank not hear us? Is Frank having issues again? Uh-oh.
We're just going to make him a Packers fan by default then, Dave.
Dude, Frank, where are you? Well,
I'm
no.
right here. I'm right here.
Oh, there you are. Who's your NFL team, bro?
The Cowboys.
So we got a Cowboys fan, a Vikings fan, and a Green Bay fan. 3 teams that I could care less about. By the way, we completed level 3 on the hype train. Moving on to level 4. And Art Vandelay, I've never heard more prettier, more heartfelt words in my life than you just put in the chat that says Raider Nation Dave. Attaboy, Art Vandelay. Raider Nation, baby. All right. We talked about the NFL all of a sudden. You guys want to talk a little SFL, or what do you think? Should we do that tonight, or you guys just want to do whatever? Or what do you think? Should we do that?
Let's get it.
I mean, whatevs. Whatevs. Oh, that's not what I wanted to see. That was a little sneak peek. Uh-oh, I better turn that off. Did you guys see that? That playoff picture came on for about a half a second. I'm going to have to turn it off because there's no way you guys should be seeing that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That's not good. All right. There you go. Let's move on to Week 8 games. This was kind of a little crazy week. We do have just a little tease for After Dark. We do have some shakeup in the playoffs, and there's a couple surprises you guys are going to be interested to look at and listen to come After Dark. So let's move on. Game 1, Frank, LA at Atlanta. This was a game that we thought, one of maybe I think 3 or 4 games that we thought could potentially become game of the week. It was a very close game, came down to the wire. Was it game of the week? Tell me how this bad boy went down.
I said on Thursday the key to this game was Bryant Dynasty. He's going to have to protect the football. If he can do that, Atlanta can pull this win out. But Ray Colston made sure that he didn't protect the football. She picked off 3 of Dynasty's 6 interceptions. That puts him 3rd overall with 23 interceptions for the season. Thomas Rahman Jr. Had 2. Ryan Joseph had the other one. LA geared up to stop BDG Hollywood. He had 21 carries for 51 yards and gambled that Bryant Dynasty couldn't protect the football. This was an exciting game. LA had 4 minutes to run down the clock, pull out the win. Robert Johnson did his part, bowling over defenders on several carries, but couldn't punch it in. After a Rob M's field goal, the Lycans led 19-13 with 1:40 to go. And that's when the real excitement started. The hero was going to be Bryant Dynasty for the Swarm because he leads the Swarm down the field and gave the fans something to cheer about with a TD pass to Boo Chisholm with 40 seconds left. LA didn't do themselves any favors by being penalized for roughing the passer and then an offsides call that helped set up that touchdown. Richardson and company left with 40 seconds and all 3 timeouts. Benji calling the game made the point that Richardson had not completed a pass over 16 yards the whole game and needed to get the ball down the field. They had to convert a 4th and 10. The O-line that hadn't protected Richardson all game, he was sacked 7 times. Josh Williams had 3 of those. He ends up being the most sacked quarterback in the league. But when the time was needed for him to be protected, they did. Richardson throws a laser to Davius Reed, who only had 4 catches on 13 targets at the time hit him for a 25-yard catch. Rob Ems sets him up for the walk-off 38-yard field goal. Buddy Blaze led the Lycans with 9 tackles. Papineau and Aquanta Shine had 7 tackles for Atlanta apiece. They each had an interception as well. Richardson finished with 194 yards, 25 completions, and Dynasty had 231 yards on 24 completions. Scott Johnson had 89 yards on 19 carries, with the most impressive running coming in the last minutes of the game, where he stiff-armed, bowled over 3 different Swarm defenders. This was an average game that turned into an SFL classic in the last 4 minutes.
You know, here's the thing. We talk a lot about on this show how quarterbacks who throw more interceptions than touchdowns lose the game. However, for some reason this week, there's several quarterbacks who threw more interceptions than touchdowns and still won the game. Now, a lot of that is skewed because, like, for example, Sully, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. However, Dynasty, only 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions, which means, that stat is a little skewed. I don't know. Cam's not in the chat tonight. Cam had some stuff going on. Him and I talked earlier today. But if he was in here, or if somebody else who's listening knows, I'm guessing that 6 interceptions is a career high for Bryant Dynasty, Frank. That's my gut feeling anyway.
Yeah.
Jack's data had this game 52.5 over under, which is almost within that 10-point range we talk about, them scoring 42 points. Atlanta was favored by 3. They did not cover. We received a level 3 hype train emote that I am about to share. I just shared it. So there you go. Whoop, whoop. Oh, shoot. I don't know what is that? It's a triangle with eyes and a carrot. What is that? I don't know what that is, but there you go. There you go, SFL Nation. Whatever that is, that's what you earned right now on a level 3 hype train. So, also, Optimus Klein, I saw you in the chat, bro. No, we're not going to skip the San Diego game because you guys played great and almost stole possibly would have been the victory of the entire season. So we are definitely not skipping that game. Atlanta was favored by 3. They did not cover. And, of course, SFL Nation, we took Atlanta 171, so we lose. We go out starting out 0-1 in the Who You Got. Moving on to game 2, Vegas at Fort Worth. So first of all, a lot of close games, Mike, all this week. A few upsets. I would definitely consider this one of them. Would you say the same?
Oh yeah, Fort Worth was definitely the favorite here, and it started out looking that way, like it was going to be all about Fort Worth. They did all the scoring in the first quarter. It was the second quarter where things started to turn around. Las Vegas scored 2 touchdowns, where Fort Worth only scored 1 touchdown and a field goal. It was really exciting in that first half. Fort Worth was doing well. They were getting the drives that they needed. However, once they went into the locker room, apparently they got together and decided, hey, we're done for the day. We're good. Let's just call it a day.
Right.
In the second half, it really turned around, and this really was a game about one very special teams player, and that's Dustin McCrack. Oh no, wait, sorry, Bo, that's your line. It was all about Doug Britton this game. He had a really big kickoff return for a touchdown. He actually had a receiving touchdown. It was his only catch of the game, and he made it well worth it. He did really well. He, in my opinion, should have been the player of the game. However, Scott Johnson had an amazing game as well and got himself player of the game. But it was a really exciting game to watch.
You know, real quick, I'm sorry, hold on. First of all, Dustin McCrack, yes, absolutely. Bo Martin Jr.'s line. Somebody else said something here I wanted to touch on. And, of course, now I can't find it. Hold on. Nope, I don't see it. However, going back to what I was just talking about before, the quarterback situation, Mike, in Vegas, Colin Pierce, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, so he broke even. But if you go on down to Cam Curtis, no touchdowns and 1 interception, so that kind of supports what we've been saying. However, it seems like Fort Worth, even when Cam Curtis, who is a rookie quarterback, right? Even though he struggled in other games, Fort Worth could figure out ways to pull it together and win the game, especially with their defense. Why couldn't they do it this week?
It was all about a tale of the halves there. They came out and they couldn't put the passes together. Even though Thrilliums had a great game, he couldn't make it happen. They couldn't get within scoring range in that second half. It was all about Las Vegas's defense in that second half, shutting them down. And I'm a fan of Cam Curtis. He was one of the best quarterbacks that first season in the first minor league season that we had.
Yeah.
But yeah, his rookie season is having some ups and downs. If he could have found his way to the end zone, it might have made a big difference. But Las Vegas's defense is what made the difference here in this game.
You got to love the irony that Fort Worth has the number 1 defense in the league, but Las Vegas's defense is what won this game. So moving forward, does Fort Worth need to make any adjustments, or is this just a hiccup on their road to a great season?
It may be a hiccup, but some more reps in practice for Cam to get him on track to where he needs to be. If he hadn't spent such a long off season, where he didn't play quarterback last season, he might be a lot further along now. But he's definitely going to get there. He's got the talent, he's got the size, and he's got all the tools. Plus, with the receivers around him, he'll get it done. He needs to put it together in his head first.
Gotcha. Well, Jack's data had this game at 51 points over under, and they scored, or I'm sorry, 45 and a half, and they scored 51. So it's definitely close. Fort Worth was favored by 7.5. They did not cover. And SFL Nation, we took a favorite at home again, 125-45 in favor of Fort Worth. And you know what that gets us? Our second loss, 0-2, out the gate. Moving on to game 3, Bo Martin Jr. I'm not sure if I'm feeling even better about this game because probably, before I talk about it after you talk about it, SFL Nation probably went Baltimore for this game. So Carolina comes in and pretty much manhandles Baltimore. Is this just an anomaly in Baltimore's season, or was this a wake-up call?
I tend to edge on the side of an anomaly, right? However, let's give respect to Carolina. They had Baltimore's number from beginning to end. Like it was back and forth for a while, but Carolina was in pretty much in control of this game. They had 424 total yards, right? And so they allowed Baltimore allowed Xander Gold to go 32 for 41 for almost an 80% completion rate.
Right.
Not a knock on Xander Gold, but this might be one of his best games this year.
Yeah.
And 321 passing yards, 4 touchdowns to only 1 interception. If I take the name off and I say those numbers, you would tend to think that it was the other way around, and you would think there's no way that these weren't Jack Wigmore's numbers, that these were Xander, that it was reversed. However, if you look at Jack Wigmore's numbers, Jack Wigmore was 33 for 51. Why? And I thought about this, and as I was looking at these numbers, why in the world, if you have a running back like T. Roy Gaines, why would you ever have your second-year quarterback throwing the ball 51 times, being intercepted 5 times?
Right.
5 times. All the while, your all-pro, all-star running back gets 12 touches on the ball. 12 carries, or excuse me, not 12 touches, but 12 carries.
Right.
12 catches for 12 carries for 42 yards and 6 receptions for 39 yards. But he only carried the ball 12 times, and you rely on your second-year quarterback to throw the ball. And here's the thing. Carolina sold out on making sure that T. Roy was not going to defeat them, and he didn't. They played it exactly right, and they forced Jack Wigmore to have to go to the pass game. And when they did it, every time, well, not every time because he was 33 for 51, but every time he looked up, he had someone in his face. And every time he looked up, one of those defensive players in the backfield was there to intercept the ball. Davidson Joseph had 2 interceptions. There were 2 players in Carolina's team that had 2 interceptions. Shout out to Davidson Joseph and Kane Vasquez. Both of them had 2 interceptions and 9 total tackles. So Carolina did something right. And perhaps it's time we stop looking past Carolina and give Carolina a little respect.
You know what? I agree with you. Carolina, here's the thing, though, right, Bo? Carolina's had some great wins this season, but they've also had some bad losses. So can we say Carolina's a great team, or can we say Carolina's an up-and-down team, and their record shows that they're 4-4?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't say that they were a great team. I just said let's give them some respect. Now, you're right. They have been up and down, but then in all fairness, so have we in Lone Star.
A lot of teams have been, right.
A lot of teams have been up and down. There are teams that that started off like that went through a phase where they started off 3-0 and then lost 3 or 4 games in a row. So I think it's still a little bit early to classify anybody as a great team. A lot of these teams are still figuring things out, right? And so given time, the cream is going to start to rise to the top. And so right now, there's a bunch of teams, and you'll talk about this later. There's a bunch of teams jumbled up right there in the middle, and it won't be until week 10 or 12 that we start to see the cream rise to the top.
Yeah, I agree with you. There is a team. Actually, I'm trying to find my notes. It might have been Fort Worth, and we didn't talk about it. There's a team that actually is on a 3-game losing streak. I think it might be Fort Worth. There's a team.
Yeah, I think Fort Worth, and then Vancouver started off 3-0, and then they lost their
3, but they seem to be back on track where Fort Worth seems to be going the other way.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Listen, Carolina. So Jack's data had the over/under of 53.5. Over/under of 61 within that 10-point threshold we talk about. Had Baltimore favored by 7, but it's hard to win by 1, let alone 7 when you throw 5 interceptions. So they definitely didn't cover there. And look at us, SFL Nation. What? Taking the higher-seeded home team again in Baltimore, 145-26, to start out this week 0-3 in the first 3 games. That's incredible. Real quick, Tyler, before I get to you, I see a bunch of stuff going on in the chat, and I wanted to check something. So I have my phone on, and I can see the chat on the OBS. On my phone, I can see the new badges. Like I see Hike the Earth is a bronze. I see Kendra's a bronze level. I see that, but I don't see it on the chat on Twitch. So can you guys shoot some messages in here and let me know? Do you guys see it? Because what I see, like on Kendra, I see bronze and I see a train. But when I look at Twitch, I only see a train. So I want to make sure this is working because I want you guys to get what you guys deserve. So let me know if you guys are seeing, the copper, bronze, silver, gold stuff or not. Like I said, because I can only see it on my phone. I don't see it on the Twitch chat itself. All right, going on to, what is that, Game 4. We're 0-3, Tyler. Can you help us turn this bad boy around? This might be interesting because if SFL Nation took Mexico City, I can see them maybe winning a close one in the Who You Got. I certainly did not see Mexico City blowing St. Louis out 38-3. Did you?
No, this was just completely off kilter, kittywampus. Insert confusion here. And St. Louis, my goodness, are they on a downward spiral and they need to correct this descent past. My goodness. When Matt Wilson, the Hall of Famer Matt Wilson, throws 4 interceptions, you should expect to be capitalizing on those turnovers. The thing that really they struggled to do, St. Louis, they weren't able to convert on 3rd down. They weren't able to convert on 2nd down. Heck, they weren't even able to convert on 4th down. So it just goes to show you that St. Louis just wasn't able to do anything against Mexico City. The defense for Mexico City had the perfect game plan to shut down St. Louis, and those 3 points only in garbage time. So St. Louis needs to rethink a majority of their game plan.
I actually was just looking it up real quick, Tyler, because I thought I was talking about a team that lost 3 in a row. I thought maybe it was St. Louis. It's definitely Fort Worth. St. Louis has only lost 2 in a row. Before that, they did win 2 more. So, again, I'm going to ask the same question to you about St. Louis that I asked about Fort Worth. Is this an anomaly for them? Or is this a hiccup? Because, if you're supposed to be one of the top teams in the league and you're playing another top team in the league, it should be a close game, right? It should not be a 38-3 beatdown.
No, this is definitely a wake-up call, and if they don't treat it like a wake-up call, they're just going to keep on losing. They're going to be the first team in SFL history to start the season 4-0 and make it out of the playoffs.
I wonder, did they start 4-0 or 5-0 even? I can't remember exactly.
They're the team that's lost 3 straight, if I remember correctly, Dave.
I'm trying to pull it up right now as we speak because I'm looking at St. Louis. St.
Louis has lost.
I want to get this straight because I know there was a team that lost 3 straight. They lost this game. They lost to Florida. Oh no, they beat London the game before that. So no, they've lost 2.
No, they lost to London, Dave.
Oh, they did lose in London. Holy crap. Okay, so St. Louis they start off 5-0. Tyler, they'd start off 5-0 and they lose 3 straight. They're probably, and we're going to talk about this, a little teaser in the After Dark for the playoff brackets that were sent to me today. There's only one game separating like 17 teams. So could St. Louis be one of those teams that goes from 5-3 to 5-4 and maybe go from one of the top teams in the league to out of the playoffs in a matter of a few weeks?
No, they're definitely on that track. They need to change things up in a hurry. They're going to be playing, let's see, St. Louis is going to be playing Tulsa, and Tulsa's on a really good run right now. So they have to make a change. They have to turn it around quickly.
Yep, and we'll talk about Tulsa in a moment. Real quick, I know we're out of time, Tyler, but Mexico City, 6-2, sitting near the top. They just look like a playoff team, maybe a Final Four team in about 10 or 15 seconds. Do you agree with me or disagree with me?
Definitely, Mexico City should have their ticket punched following this week.
Okay. Jack's Data had the over-under 51.5, so at 41, super close to that 10-point threshold. Mexico City was favored by 3.5. They more than covered that. And what do you know? Look at SFL Nation. It was close, only 99-76, but we take the home team again, and we actually win one to move to 1-3, moving into Game 5, Frank, on Saturday. Let me pull this bad boy up real quick. Queen City at Jacksonville. I don't think that anybody was surprised that Jacksonville won, but the score looks like they won pretty handily. Did they, or is the score a little deceptive?
No, it was pretty handily. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I said Thursday that Jacksonville was going to stop Jet Zero and dare AJ Caswell to beat them, and that's what they did for 3 quarters. Succo Lamano picked Caswell off 4 times in the first 16 minutes of the game. That resulted in 14 points. Jet Zero finished with 92 yards, but only had 39 yards in the first half. Not to mention that he left the second quarter with an injury on his best drive, and they had to go to a backup running back down inside the goal, inside the 5 around the goal line, and he could not punch it in, and they had to settle for a field goal. He had a broken finger, ended up coming back in the second half. Jared Willis had -1 yard rushing in the first half, only rushed the ball 5 times the entire game. He finished with 48 yards rushing. His longest run from scrimmage was 43 yards when Jacksonville was backed up on their own 1 yard line. He did haul in a team high 14 receptions for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. Christensen was 32 of 39 for 351 yards and 4 touchdowns. Caswell was 30 out of 51 for 342 and 2 touchdowns, and those TDs didn't come until after the 3.5-minute mark of the fourth quarter when the game was well out of hand. He did have the 4 interceptions to Lamano. Zero came back in the third quarter, did what he could do, picking up yards, but Queen City needed to score and do it quickly. Deezer Powell ended up with 12 catches for 194 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, Albert Begin led Queen City with 8 tackles. Kappa Jones had the lone interception. Michael Sprouse and Alex Bond had 9 tackles each for Jacksonville. The story here was Lamano. He had 6 interceptions coming into the game, now leads the league with 10.
Yeah.
This win keeps Jacksonville in competition with Florida in the Atlantic Division. And surprisingly, Queen City is only 2 games back of Baltimore in the North. Christensen was named player of the game, but it could have easily gone to Lamano.
Hey, real quick, I'm sorry. Frank, I'm gonna make a comment about Christian Christensen, but before that, I need to comment on what Wally Herman just said. In the chat, Wally said the Diva always does a good show. My only complaint is part of the background. Orange ruins everything. Don't be a hater, Wally. Nobody likes that South Carolina Gamecocks menstrual red color, whatever you want to call it, that ugly, nasty thing. Also, Ray, I don't know what's up, girl. Everybody else seems to have their badges. Maybe because you have a founder's badge, you didn't get your 3-month. I think 3-month badge would have been silver, if I'm not mistaken, based on what I set up. So, or Ray, real quick, some of the badges, they all need to be approved. So maybe some were approved and some haven't been approved yet. So maybe by next show they'll all be available. And look at Wally saying, ouch. Well, hey, I'm just saying. Hey, I'm just speaking the truth. This man said menstrual red color up to attaboy Optimist. Frank, real quick. Christian Christensen, we literally talked about this on Thursday. We said Christian Christensen needs to manage the game well and needs to throw more touchdowns and interceptions to win this game against Queen City. He did exactly that. 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick. This is the Christian Christensen that if he played like this every week, Jacksonville could be a title contender, right?
I agree with that. I agree, yes.
Yeah. Well, Jack's data had their over and under at 47.5 with 48 points scored in the game. I don't think you can get any closer than that. Jacksonville was favored by 6.5. They definitely covered that. And look at SFL Nation after starting 0-3. Coming back with a 2-game winning streak, taking Jacksonville 135-30 in the Who You Got. Going into the nightcap game on Saturday, Mike All, Charleston at Vancouver. I think a lot of people, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think the entire panel, I'll have to go back and check, picked Vancouver. And I have the same question that I have for you that I had for Frank. That last game was 31-17. This game 31-16. Was this the blowout it looks like, or was this a closer game than the score resembles?
Well, let me preface this by saying I have friends on both teams. I'm a fan of both teams, but yes, and it didn't look like it was going to be that way the way it started out. It was very slow to start out. It was punt, 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 fumble, punt. Before finally somebody got on the scoreboard, Vancouver managed a field goal to finally get it going. Charleston's offense, it seemed like maybe Andy Hamilton was reading the plays, like maybe the other coach wasn't covering his mouth or whatever, but it seemed like they knew what was coming. They seemed to really have a hard time going against Vancouver's defense. But Vancouver started out really slow against Charleston's defense, and Charleston has a very good defense. In fact, it was their defense that did most of the offensive work for them this game. It was really slow that first half until we got to the 2-minute offense for Vancouver when Tom Pepper finally got it going and hit Kendra Hall for his 200th touchdown of his career, which was really impressive. It was a really nice thing to watch, and it gave him a lead heading into the locker room. Coming out of the locker room, Vancouver got the ball to start the next half, and my gosh, it really changed when they came out of the locker room. Almost right away, Robert Redford broke it off 76 yards to pay dirt and increased the lead. Charleston couldn't really do much against them. They only seemed to be able to get within field goal range and put up a couple of field goals until later in the game. But their defense did do some good work against them. Tom Pepper completed his application for the 200-200 club in the second half there, throwing his 200th career interception to John Reese. So hopefully John Reese autographed that ball for him. That's a collector's item right there.
Well, Kendra Hall, real quick, Mike, just said in the chat that she has a touchdown per game, kept that streak going. You mentioned Robert Redford, 181 yards. Tom Pepper, who I think is the MVP front runner, 395 yards, but only two passes, passing touchdowns, only 2 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Is this a Vancouver team that's good enough now that they can overcome a quarterback throwing more interceptions than touchdowns and still win the game?
Yes. Robert Redford showed that even if Tom Pepper has a slightly off night, and that's all I'm going to say is a slightly off night.
Yeah.
Because Charleston's defense is really good. But Robert Redford threw it on his shoulders and got the work done for him too. He took home player of the game, not Pepper. But it was Pepper that definitely had an impressive night getting in the 200-200 club. I mean, how many people can say they do it in the same game?
And say in the exact same game. Two trivia question answers to that game. I was looking over Charleston real quick. I was trying to see real quick. I know we're out of time, Mike, but what stood out? I mean, Buchanan, 6 receptions for 70 yards. Anything stand out for Charleston for you?
Later in the game, Buchanan Simons did get a nice little touchdown score, but it was their defense that really stood out for most of the game. I mean, Jack Brown did what Jack Brown did.
Right.
He got in there, got the tackles. He even tipped one up so that Corey Menner could come out and pick one off. And he was running like nobody's business. However, Robert Redford was not having any of that and ran him down and kept him from scoring what should have been a pick six. That was a really exciting play right there.
Well, before we get to Gunny right now, let me tell you, Jack's data had this game an over-under of 41.5 with 47 points scored in this game, definitely within that 10-point threshold. Vancouver favored by 3. They blew that out of the water. And look at us, SFL Nation. We had a 3-game losing streak. Now we have a 3-game winning streak. 130 to only 35. We took Vancouver to end up 500, 3-3 for the day on Saturday. Hopefully we can do better on Sunday. Doug Britton, I don't think that matters. I think you should still have a badge. I don't think it matters if you have a quote-unquote real subscription or a Prime subscription. I don't think it should matter. But I will look into that as well. Gunny, are you around?
Yes, sir. A bit disappointed right now, but I'm good.
What are you disappointed about, bro?
I just lost a title fight in the BFL.
Damn it! Are you are you going to be okay to do your pearls of wisdom?
I'm good. I'm standing back on my feet again.
All right, attaboy. That's what I'm saying. Pull
I
yourself up by
I
your
bet on you,
bootstraps,
Gunny. I had bet on you, Gunny.
Exactly. All right, Gunny, we are kicking off the music right now. You're ready to go whenever you are ready to rock and roll. Ray already has the lyrics in the chat, so do your thing.
Congratulations to everyone that won over the weekend. I'm glad to see the Lone Star Glory pulled out a victory. A big, big, big game coming up in Week 9 against the Mexico City Aztecs. I believe the Glory will be playoff bound if they can pull the upset. It is home at the Medal of Honor Field. Again, good luck to everyone. Again, in week number 9 and in the playoff push, I'm looking forward to hearing what Dave has to say about the top 12 teams in the playoffs. And with that, it's a quick version of That Is All. Everyone enjoy their St. Patrick's Day holiday.
Hey, so Gunny, real quick, I want to tell you two things. Number one, you mentioned the playoffs. A little sneak peek. There is now one division that has all 4 teams in the playoffs. What little teaser there for everybody. Also, tomorrow, I will be celebrating St. Patrick's Day with my children, who one flew in with his girlfriend to surprise my other son who lives in North Carolina and his girlfriend. And we are going to be out because I'm a good parent, because I'm a good father, I will be taking my children with me tomorrow night to get hammered on St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Gunny, and thank you for all your pearls of wisdom, bro. That being said, yeah, I'm a good parent. I see your look of judgment, Bo Martin Jr. I see it. All right, let's move on to Sunday's games. Optimus Klein says, Dave Axis, if I call you Dad, can I join in? Absolutely. Dude, anybody who calls me Daddy can come drinking with me. Absolutely.
Pause.
You're my daddy, Dave.
Hey, yo. All right, let's move on to Sunday on a game that I don't know if this game, honestly, Bo, was a surprise. I'm looking back at Thursday's show. 1, 2, 3, a clean sweep. All 6 people picked London to win this game. Tulsa has gotten little to no respect all season, and now they are 4-4 and potentially a playoff team, which we will find out in After Dark. How is it that Tulsa's getting so disrespected? And lead off with that as you tell us about this game that London lost by 4 points to Tulsa.
Yeah, I talked earlier about Carolina being, having to give Carolina a little bit of respect, and Tulsa, they're getting less respect than I would say even Carolina, probably because of the division that they play in. If I had to guess a reason, I mean, there's some pretty strong teams in the division that Tulsa plays in, so I think that probably has something to do with it. Perhaps you can look at their strength of schedule or strength of victory schedule. But they played a really good London team. And, I gotta say, it was like a flashback to the old Angus McLean. And, and as Angus McLean goes, usually the London Knights go. You had talked earlier, I forget which team you were talking about, but you're talking about, is their team good enough to overcome having more interceptions than touchdowns?
Jacksonville,
yes. Yeah. So the answer to that question when it applies to London is no.
Is a resounding no, right?
It's a resounding no. London is not good enough. They need to have a good game by Angus in order to win that game. But even more concerning. Okay, so before I get to what's even more concerning, I'll get to that in a minute. But okay, Angus did not have a bad game other than the 5 picks. I mean, he threw 357 yards, which I think perhaps this next stat is the problem. Angus was 33 for 51. So herein lies the problem. You've got an established running back now. Robert Merrill is a great running back.
Okay, wait a minute. I gotta stop you, bro.
I'm going to get to where you're going.
Okay.
I'm going to get to where you're going.
Because I don't think Robert Merrill is a good running back, and we've talked about it a lot on this show, but go ahead. I will let you finish.
Let me give it to him before I take it away. Okay.
Do your thing.
So, I believe Robert Merrill is one of the running backs in the SFL, right? However, and I did say he was one of the running backs in the SFL. I know what I said. I pulled a line from Mike. Oh, he does that. 5 carries for 7 yards. There and what's really scary about that stat, Dave, is that this is not his first time laying an egg like that. So a couple of things that concern me is that I don't know if he's being either A, he's not being used properly, or B, there's some underlying issues that need to be corrected with Robert Merrill. Now, he was their leading receiver in the game. He had 14 receptions for 94 yards. So he's definitely getting involved in the passing game. However, for whatever reason, I don't know if they don't trust him in the running game, or if they just don't, if they're not utilizing him correctly, or if there's something else going on. You can't put this loss all on Angus. Being asked to throw the ball. Oh, one other thing. I looked at his numbers, 33 for 51, 350 yards. You know who had almost the identical game?
Who?
Jack Wigmore.
Wow.
Jack Wigmore was 33, the exact same amount of completions for the exact same amount of attempts, 33 for 51. Jack was 318 yards. Angus was 350 yards. Now, the difference is if you look at the, excuse me, Baltimore made it close at least because of their defense. Now, Angus had, I'm going to go and say it. He had no offensive protection. For whatever reason, Tulsa's defense smothered Angus. He sacked him 5 times, and Robert Merrill didn't help at all to slow down the pass game. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Basically, all JQ had to do was just not have as bad a day as Angus McLean did. And so JQ, 24 for 40, which is a day, 206 yards, 0 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. But the difference here was the defense. The defense was able to keep the ball away from London. They held the ball for 23 minutes and 55 seconds versus 19 minutes. So the defense was able to extend some drives. Sonzo Robinson got a little bit going, 24 for 60 yards with 2 touchdowns. So it seems like Tulsa gave just enough to get the victory.
Okay.
No one had an amazing day out of Tulsa, but it was enough.
Bo, all right. I appreciate what you said about Merrill. First of all, let me address a couple of things.
Don't make me be mean. Don't make me be mean.
Seriously, let me first of all, let me address a couple comments in the chat. First of all, Eddie Gage said, "Thanks, Dave. I have no idea. I think he's just thanking me for being me, I guess." And you know what, Eddie Gage, you're welcome. Tom Rahman made it funny saying, "Dave said, I'm going to let you finish," to Bo Martin Jr.
Go ahead, Kanye.
But here it is. So Alan said, you can't be good if your team doesn't give you the ball. Right. Okay, but here's the thing. We've had this conversation about Robert Merrill almost every week this season. He is a wide receiver transitioning to running back that still plays like a wide receiver and sometimes doesn't even do that well. I literally saw him a few weeks ago get a pass. It was kind of like a screen pass, but he had already turned towards the quarterback, and it came to him, and it hit him in the chest and fell on the ground.
Right.
Okay? Angus McCain can only do so much. If you don't have a running game and a defense keys on the pass, Angus McCain's going to be laid out to dry every week anyway.
Right.
I was trying to be nice. I get it, and I don't feel like being nice, I guess. I don't know. Here's the thing. On Thursday, Chad's going to be on the show, and I will ask Chad what the hell is going on with Robert Merrill, because this is not the first time we've talked about a game him having 5 carries for 7 yards or whatever.
Yep.
I think
it was either last week or the week before. He had 7 carries for 0 yards.
Okay. So there you go. Exactly. So we will put Chad's feet to the fire next week and find out what the hell is going on with Robert Merrill and the running game in London, because you can't rely just on Angus and expect to win games.
And the defensive coordinator from the other team knows this. And, so here's a bit of insight for London. Everybody knows you're not giving it to Robert Merrill.
That's my point. Hey, Bullet Boletsky in the chat, that's hilarious. He says, "Geez, it's like Robert Merrill stole Dave's lunch money as a kid or something." Listen, hey, I think Robert Merrill is the victim in this, actually. I think it's London's fault for not using him properly or not building him properly. If I'm not mistaken, he played for them last season, right? When he moved from wide receiver to running back, he had a whole season, just like Phoenix Jones had, just like some of these other fullbacks that moved to halfback or wide receivers. Well, I guess Robert Merrill's the only wide receiver to move to halfback.
Right.
But I got to tell you, and listen, I'm not ripping on Robert Merrill. I don't even know Robert Merrill. I've never even had a conversation with him. What I'm saying is, what the hell is London doing with him? Because it's not working. That's kind of my point for everybody who's trying to give me crap in the chat. That being said, real quick, Bo Martin Jr., and we are way over time, but for some reason, I just don't care. Tell me real quick in about 15 seconds, why is Tulsa, I think they only won 4 games all last season, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even 3. How are they 4-4 already this season?
I think Tulsa's still trying to figure things out. And I'm gonna sum it up by saying that really quickly. Tulsa is flying by the seat of their pants. They're lucky to be 4-4. However, that does not mean that they're to be discounted out. They're much better than they were last year, and they'll continue to get better throughout the season.
Okay, we will find out if 4-4 is enough to get them into the playoff picture in After Dark tonight. Jack's data real quick, 44.5 over under, only 30 in the game, so that wasn't close. Tulsa favored by 3.5. You can't get much closer than that. Jack's data nailed it. However, we start off Sunday just like we start off Saturday, 0-1. We took London 107-69 going into game 2, Tyler, on Sunday. Florida at DC. DC coming off a huge win against Lone Star last week. A lot of people giving DC a chance in this, but Florida's the number 2 team as of last week in all the SFL. So did DC really have a chance, or what happened here?
With DC coming off of their win and then coming back home to Washington, D.C. to play Florida, anything's possible. And it looks like Bo Martin Jr. has been sent to the Matrix. But anything's possible. But it just goes to show you the quality of the coaching staff in Florida, the ability to mentor Charlie Beletsky along for him to make some pretty substantial plays. Didn't have a whole lot of yards, the Bullet, but he did pick up a touchdown and was more so crucial than anything else. I think it just goes to show that Ron Cochran showed his veteran prowess. He was already at 200 yards at half. He was able to torch the rookie secondary, the rookie linebacking core, the rookie team, left, right, and center for most of that football game. Did give up an interception, but then had a pretty nice touchdown as well. So Florida just came in and took care of business. That's all that really has to be said here, Dave.
So let me ask you this, Tyler. DC's been in a lot of close games. They beat us last week, like I mentioned. But Florida started off last season 15, not so great, and then they went on a streak to claim, I think, somewhere around the maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, playoff spot. Has the Legends setting helped a team like Florida more than teams like a DC, a San Diego, a Tulsa, or a London?
Now, I wouldn't say that certain settings have helped. I would say that teams have been more able to adapt than most, rather than saying that settings themselves, make a team better than the next. Because
do you think
as we've seen,
experience to adapt to that. Or
I think it's experience, not just from the players themselves, but from the coaching staff. Just able to put in, simulations, on their own, able to just see where things are going to happen, what plays are going to work in the new system, what aren't going to work in the new system, stuff like that. And then we've seen that with, just going to pick Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls, one of the more dominant teams the last couple of seasons, but now he's just been, Sioux Falls just really hasn't had a whole lot of success. Only 2 wins, 6 losses. So really, it has to be said that Florida has adapted pretty well and have come out with a 6-2 record.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you real quick, I don't know who was saying it. It looks like Hunter's saying Tyler was loud or I'm low, one of the two. All right, well, we'll see. I turned Tyler down a little bit. Hopefully you can still hear me okay. I forgot my question now. Dang it, Hunter. You threw off my concentration. Oh, that's what I was
Threw
going to
off
say.
my groove.
I know, right? I was going to say, Tyler, as you look at the graphic and you look at the stats, this does not look like a 2-score win for Florida. It looks like DC was in the game and played a great game. What was the difference?
Just the inability to convert on third downs early in the football game. For a good part of their initial drives, there were a lot of 3-and-outs from DC, just unable to get the ball moving down the field, and that's what it came out to. Just DC unable to get going early, Florida taking control early and not letting up.
Gotcha. Before I get to Jack's data, Bullet Beletsky again in the chat. Mighty puts in the work during the week and it shows on the field every game. I'm sure he does, just like a lot of coaches do. Jack's data, 45.5 over under with 39 points scored in this game, definitely within the threshold. Florida favored by 3.5. They definitely covered that. And look at us, SFL Nation. We get back in the win column, 137 to only 39 in favor of Florida to make us 1-1 on Sunday and 4-4 overall, Frank, going into what I think could have been one of the upsets of the year. And I'm only saying that because if Houston had lost, I would have been one of only 2 people left in the survivor pool, and I might have been splitting a lot of money. What do you think, Frank? Oh, is Frank muted, bro? Is Frank muted?
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Dave.
That's all right. Go ahead.
I got kind of disconnected, but I was holding on until hopefully it'll come back on because that's what it's been doing the whole evening.
Okay.
Talking about Portland. This game right here, if you like field goals, this was your game to watch for about 3.5 quarters. Portland had Houston's number defensively, holding the third-ranked passing offense to just 208 yards. E.T. King was picked off twice by Derek Majors and Bob Funk. They had trouble with Warren Murray, though. Warren Murray ended up with 109 yards rushing on 28 carries. He had 84 yards in the first half with a big 40-yard run with about 2 minutes to go. That set up a Houston field goal to make it 3-6. Murray was held out of the end zone, was pretty much bottled up the second half, including a rare fumble that led to a Portland field goal. Ezekiel Love was shown no love by Houston, rushing for only 44 yards on 20 carries. Matt South matched E.T. King in almost every category. Both had 2 interceptions. Both had 1 touchdown. Both were around that 200-yard mark.
Yep.
The story in this game was defense and special teams. Ethan Kai and A.J. Barnes combined for 13 tackles. Barnes had 2 interceptions for Houston. They had 3 field goals for 3. They had 3 field goals for a 3-point lead at the end of the third quarter. Bob Funk and Mel Davis combined for 12 tackles for Portland. David John had 2 field goals to keep the game close for the Fleet. I predicted Portland to win this game. Poor time management may have cost Portland 3 points in the first half. With all 3 timeouts left, 47 seconds left on the clock, they ran a negative play, let the time run down to 3 seconds. Then they called the timeout. South hits Vandelay on a long pass, put them around the 50-yard line, and then time expired with 2 timeouts left in their pocket. Another field goal by Houston in the third, and still I thought Portland could pull this one out. They had chances. I was waiting for that big Ezekiel Love home run or a deep pass that finally came with 8.5 left in the game. Valentine hauled in a 61-yard TD pass from Matt South. That's his 50th career TD pass. That put Portland ahead for the first time of the game. Portland's defense was doing a great job, I thought, despite the 84 yards in the first half to Warren Murray. They kept him out of the end zone, holding him to field goals. But after a Barnes interception that set Houston up inside the 5, Houston needed 4 downs to convert and score a touchdown, and they did so with 2 minutes to go. Portland gets the ball again, and then Barnes, he strikes again with his second interception of the game. Matt South did a pretty good job of protecting the football until those last 2 drives where he threw the 2 interceptions to Barnes.
I got to tell you, Frank, I was the biggest Portland fan in the world on Sunday. I had my kids in, like I mentioned, so I didn't get to see a lot of games this week, but I jumped in the beginning of this game just to talk a little smack in the game chat before. And when I heard that Portland was hanging on and almost stealing a victory, I tuned in later. And obviously I was heartbroken because it cost me potentially a lot of money. That's why Art Vandelay, because you cost me money. That's why. But it sounds like it was an amazing game all the way through, except for all the field goals. And Marco Swift, I know you apologize for winning this game and costing me money, but for some reason, I don't feel that's very heartfelt. I think that you're not being very genuine. Frank, Jack's Data had this game at 41.5, so the 29, they weren't close. Houston favored by 7.5. They did not cover that. But SFL Nation, we go up 2-1 on Sunday. We took Houston 126-52 in the Who You Got going into Game 4, Mike All. And Game 4 is my favorite game of the week. And you could probably imagine several reasons why. But I want to hear from you, Mike All. How did Lone Star look coming off a disappointing loss last week to DC?
Well, you know what, Dave? You ran a little bit long with Bo, so I'm just going to say LSG won. Let's move on.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me change the timer to 12 minutes, and you can go ahead and talk about Lone Star.
Okay. So, no, the way it started off, I didn't think it was going to go LSG's way. Sioux Falls started off slow on offense, but then on the very next drive of LSG, Sioux Falls pinned them within the 5-yard line and got a safety on Ace. And
Not a
it
good
looked
start
like,
for us. Yep.
Yeah, it looked like Sioux Falls might be back on the winning track. Defensively, they did fairly well in that first half. They even had a pick six in there, which was a very nice pick six, I got to say. But ultimately, it was the Ike McBride show. She really got it done. Ace made some nice plays, but again, it's the tale of, can a team where the quarterback throws more interceptions than touchdowns, can they overcome that? Ike McBride and Cam Collier by themselves made sure that you guys did that.
Right.
Defensively, both teams were really strong in the first half, but in the second half, Sioux Falls kind of fell by the wayside, and you guys pulled away and made it all about you guys. And I don't know how to explain it. Sioux Falls is a good team. They've always been a good team. They are still a good team. But
I've asked it every week on this show, and maybe you have the answer. There's only two things different from Sioux Falls from last season, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I still haven't heard the answer. The only difference is they have a different fullback, and we have legend setting. I don't understand how Sioux Falls has gone from back-to-back championship games to going 2-6 this season.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Now, is it that Tyree has to make some changes in his build? Maybe. Is it that Beanie Wells was just that amazing of a fullback? Well, yeah, he was that amazing of a fullback, but Charlemagne Cornelius is nothing to sneeze at either. But yeah, it might be the legend setting shutting down their running game, because all over the league, running games are having a hard time getting going. Unless apparently you're London, like Bo likes to talk crap about. But I mean, Sioux Falls definitely has an amazing defense. They can get it done. It's just offensively they've got to tweak something, and I don't think they found the right buttons to push yet. The right switches to flip. They're just not getting it there yet. And Lone Star, they were firing on all cylinders, and I haven't watched every game of LSG this season, but I really feel like this was Ike's coming out game this season. She really blew the doors off of it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been up and down. We've been having a roller coaster season. Obviously, it puts us at 4-4, potentially one of the in the playoffs. Maybe not. I don't know. Tulsa's 4-4. There's a lot of 4-4 teams. Atlanta and others. Julian Tyree, though, again, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Hard to win a game when you don't throw any touchdowns and you throw 2 interceptions, Mike. Real quick in the chat, a couple things I want to respond to. First thing is Tyler Falk, potential convention site, has 2 bars and 1 steakhouse. Let me tell you something. My oldest son tonight made us steaks. It may be the best steak I've ever had. So maybe I can get him to come to the convention and cook us all steaks. Marco Swift said, I need you to win for me next week, even though I couldn't lose for you this week. Okay, cool. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, Marco, let's do that. You don't scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. That'll happen. And, we should probably win next week anyway, so that's okay. And Optimus Klein says he doesn't drink, but he's going to let somebody. Oh, Tyler, you got to buy him a steak. Good for you. All right, good. Glad we got that all cleared up. And lastly, Boomberry, unfortunately, LSG is going to be down again next week. Yeah, I don't know about that. So, Jack's data. LSG at Sioux Falls, over under 45.5. We scored 53 points. That was close enough. Sioux Falls favored by 2.5. Guess what? Sioux Falls didn't cover. And you know what else? Who else didn't cover? Guess who else didn't cover? SFL Nation didn't cover, betting against Lone Star. 91-76 in favor of Sioux Falls drops you to 2-2. Exactly, Bo Martin Jr. Drops you to 2-2 on Sunday. And I believe that's what, like 5-5 overall? You guys are barely hanging on to 500. Let's see what Benji Matson has to say before we move on to Bo Martin Jr. I am starting a campaign to raise awareness for fonts. Funds donated will be used by someone other than Dave to purchase actual fonts for the Dave Act. Hey, these are new fonts, bro. I'm trying new fonts every week, and these kind of match the outline of the graphics, Benji. You see, it's kind of that brush kind of thing. Man, people always hating no matter what I do. I change it up every week, Bo Martin Jr., and just like Lone Star fans, nobody's happy. What's up with that? I don't know. But, all right, let's move on to game, 5 on Sunday. Denver at San Diego. Here's the other thing that was stressing me out, Bo Martin Jr. I had Denver in the survivor pool, and they scared the hell out of me. How do I take Denver, and they, San Diego takes me to overtime, and then on the other hand, I've got Houston that just needs to lose, and I could be in the final 2, and I'm stressed out on both these games. What the hell was going on this weekend, bro?
This was the surest game for Denver since the Lone Star Glory versus the DC team. And I tell you, it almost went the same way. And you know what? I know that Optimus was asking to skip this game earlier, but
Why,
I think we should. I think we should talk about this. Yeah. I think we should talk about this because I saw life. I don't know if you guys remember, but I've been known to give San Diego a bit of a hard time.
You just did that last week, I think, didn't you? But
was it last week? I don't remember.
It was literally just last week.
But you know what? I'll be honest. I was really, really happy looking at San Diego. It looks like there's a pulse. You know how when you're just about ready to pull the plug because you think it's over and you're like, there's no saving them. Now, don't get me wrong. They're not going to make the playoffs. So let's get that out of the way. I'm not saying that. However, I was ready to say, you know what? This may be SFL's first 0-12 team. I was right on the verge of pulling the plug and saying that. And just when I did that, here comes Javier Vasquez going 38 for 48.
Yeah,
probably his best game of the year. Now he wasn't bombing it down the field. These were all dink and dunk, most of them were. But whatever, they're playing to his strengths, right? 38 for 48, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they kept and only 1 interception and 3 sacks. Okay, so he took care of the football. And I don't want to focus too much on San Diego because they did lose the game, but everybody expected Denver to win anyway. So it's just another ho-hum day for Josh Miller, 25 for 36, 195 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Now, what did concern me here was taking a look at what San Diego was able to do with Jared McChesney. Now, I don't know if this was San Diego's strategy or if it was Denver's strategy or what, but Jared McChesney, one of, and arguably the best running back in the SFL. 9 carries for 74 yards. He only touched the ball 9 times. Okay. And now let's not be misled. 9 and 74 seems like a fair day. One of those carries was for 47 yards. So if you take that out of the equation, he didn't do too much. I understand he got hurt. However, I'm trying to remember what quarter he got hurt in. It's just, anyway. I understand he got hurt.
Remembers.
But R.E. Mills came in and offered another 7 carries for 31 yards. So that was a nice addition. But even still, with Jared McChesney getting hurt, you didn't, or at least I didn't expect San Diego to be able to give them a run for their money like they did.
I don't think anybody did, Bo. Go ahead.
Yeah, they stood with him the whole way. I'm looking at Denver. Somehow, Giacomo Jones only ended up with 3 receptions and 28 yards. One of the best receivers in the SFL. Bryce Battle only ended up with 4 receptions for 41 yards. So, and then you look at the flip side of the ball. So, I guess when you look at it, the reason why they weren't getting the receptions, Devin King had a beast of a day with 18 total tackles.
Yeah.
And Mike Ryan had 10 total tackles. Shout out to Mike Ryan. And
Sorry, who?
I don't know who Mike Ryan is.
Nobody
some
knows
guy.
who that guy is.
Nobody knows. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. But yeah. So I saw life in San Diego, and oh my God, we have an Optimus Klein sighting. By the way,
That's what I was going to ask you about.
I was so excited to see Optimus Klein. I thought he was like on strike or something, but here he comes with 6 receptions, the leading receiver for San Diego. And so I saw a lot of things out of San Diego that showed me signs of life. There's a pulse. It might be a faint pulse, but there's a pulse.
There's definitely a pulse.
I think if San Diego can continue on the trail that they went last week, they're going to win at least 1 game, probably 2. Now, don't hold me to that, SFL, but I can see San Diego perhaps sneaking a game at least. Because look, they took an undefeated, or excuse me, a 6-1 team. They took them to overtime.
Yeah.
So there's something going on in San Diego that's good.
Definitely San Diego's most impressive game.
Definitely their most impressive game of the year. And if they can build on it, they're going to sneak up on at least 1 team, if not 2.
So let me address a few things real quick before I get to Jack's data in the chat. Yes, Tyler Falk, I messed up the graphic. I had San Jose Flight on the brain, I guess. So if you take the San Jose Flight and the San Diego Mavericks and you put them together, you get the San Diego Flight, apparently. So my bad for that. Seeing as I am part of the San Jose Flight, I guess that's why it was on my brain. Secondly, Michael, you know Greek. Third of all, I would say by far, Bo Martin Jr., this was San Diego's most impressive game. And with Optimus back in the fold, 6 catches for 56 yards, almost a first down per catch. It's good to see. I think San Diego's starting to turn the corner, which is good to see. Jack's data had this, and I got to be honest with you. When I saw a 23.5 point favorite, I was like, yeah, that could happen. That could happen. Well, San Diego had, other thoughts. Over under of 39.5 with 37 points scored in this game. That was right on.
Dave, real quick. Go ahead. Real quick, since we're overtime anyways, I just wanted to say Jalen Wells, we get on Jalen Wells a lot. He had 20 carries for 42 yards. Yeah. I looked at his numbers a little bit just to see if he had any games where he turned out like Robert Merrill type games. So Jalen Wells has actually had 2 games where he's had over 100 yards rushing. So I was like, that's something definitely to build on. And then I looked at Robert Merrill's numbers, and I'm not going to go back on London and beat on him, but I will say this: Robert Merrill has 235 yards the entire season. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, there you go. All right. That all being said, I gave Jack's data already. Look at SFL Nation, 150-23 picking Denver over San Diego. What an accomplishment, right? To put us at 6-5. We finally squeaked over 500 going into the last game, Tyler. Arizona at Louisiana. We all talked about it on Thursday that this was a great game to wrap things up with. A must win for Louisiana. Although I think a lot of people thought that Arizona would probably pull this out. So what happened?
Just complete and utter domination by Louisiana for about 4 quarters, and don't let that score line fool you. This game was a blowout, unfortunately, for those Scorpions, and it just was not going Arizona's way from start to finish. I know Ashley Jackson looks pretty good with the stats. 2 touchdowns. She did throw 2 interceptions, 1 being a pick 6, over 75% completion percentage, but really where they struggled was just being able to put drives away. Now, what do I mean by that? They were in the red zone a couple of times, just unable to score, throw an interception, just not being able to do really anything. And the defense, the offense for Louisiana just came together. I mean, Reggie Streeter, my goodness, did we ever see a resurgence from him? Close to 150 yards, couple of nice scampers. one of which not being for a touchdown, and we'll talk about that later. But Reggie Streeter really impressed me this week.
So I'm looking at the stats here, right? And we've talked about Arizona, and there's been times where, AJ is what, second or third, maybe fourth, something like that in interceptions in the league. DJ Moses usually picking up the slack. But in a game where DJ Moses only rushes for 52 yards and Ashley throws 2 interceptions, it's got to be virtually impossible for Arizona to win anyway, especially when their defense this season isn't what it normally is. However, all that being said, Louisiana defense taking care of the Arizona offense. But this Reggie Streeter sighting, I don't think we've seen it since. I think he had a game in week 1, and I think he had another one somewhere, maybe week 4 or 5 or something. I can't remember. And then today. Can Louisiana make the playoffs with Reggie Streeter only playing like this every 3 to 4 weeks, though?
Well, I think Louisiana is starting to put things together, so we probably will see more of Reggie Streeter like he has shown to be, more explosive as the weeks progress, as we get later into the season. We only got 4 weeks left, so they're going to have to need Streeter to get more explosive runs early and often in their last 4 games, especially if they want to make the playoffs. They're below 500. They need to get above 500 to end out the season. It starts next week against Sioux Falls.
Eddie Gage adding a couple interceptions to his career total. Anthony Wyo, who's having a great season, a couple picks for Louisiana as well. Like you said, this game really not close. Even Eddie Gage said in the chat, a blowout is an understatement, Tyler. Do you think, if you had to pick one of these two teams to make the playoffs this season, which one's it going to be?
Oh, that's tough. At the beginning of the season, we were all thinking Louisiana would make the playoffs. Arizona was just scraping by. It's kind of, flip-flopped a little bit with Arizona being, the more sure-footed team. But now I really don't know. I really can't say for sure that either team will make the playoffs. Again, Louisiana has an uphill battle the rest of the way, and Arizona has to, just stay above 500 in a very tough division. They weren't able to keep pace with Denver this past week, so more than likely, winning the division is probably out of the question at this point. So they're going to have to just play for a playoff spot at this point.
Well, after we do our Diva of the Week nominees, we will get into a few other things, but eventually we'll get to Access After Dark, and we will talk about playoff standings and see if Arizona is in the playoffs right now or not in the playoffs. As of week 8. That wraps up week 8 recaps. Speaking of Diva of the Week, I forgot to change the week 7 graphic. Oh well, this is for week 8. You guys know what week we're in. I don't have to tell you. You guys are all smart. Let's get down to business, Frank. Diva of the Week, season 16, week 8 Diva of the Week nominee. Who is yours?
I'm going with none other than Ray Colston for 3 interceptions on her birthday in helping LA beat Atlanta.
That is a great one. Definitely, Ray, happy birthday again. 3 interceptions. You can't ask, and a victory. You can't ask for more of a birthday gift than that. Mike All, who is your Diva of the Week, season 16, week 8 nominee?
I'm going to go with Tom Pepper for not only joining the 200-200 club, but doing it in fashion. He did it by throwing his 200th touchdown to one of the few female offensive stars in the league, Kendra Hall. And not only did he join the 200-200 club with a touchdown in the end zone, he joined the 200-200 club with an interception in the end zone. So he went out big. And did it big. That's my Diva of the Week.
That's actually great. And to be honest with you, I think, for me personally, I think Pepper is probably still the leader for MVP so far this season. Bo Martin Jr., who's your season 16, week 8 Diva of the Week nominee?
Well, it turned out to be a loss, but there was an interception that took place that early on in the game where a team was driving, where it was Tulsa. Yeah, Tulsa was driving, and it looked like they were driving in for a sure score. And up comes Tanner Hendricks to make an interception, and he made it look so flawless. It looked like a finger roll almost, but at the end of the finger roll, he intercepted the ball. And I thought it was one of the prettiest interceptions I've seen all season, and it was Diva, and that's why he's my Diva of the week.
Yeah, it was one-handed, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was one-handed. Yeah, it looks like it looked like a reverse finger roll almost.
Nice. Okay. All right. So far we got Ray, we got Peppers, we got Tanner Hendricks, Tyler. Let's move on to you. Who's your season 16 week 8 Diva of the Week nominee?
Now I like my boss's pick there, Devin King with 19 tackles. That's a strong honorable mention. But I have to say that I mentioned earlier, Robert Redford had a couple of big scampers, one for a touchdown and one a touchdown saving tackle, nearly 100 yards, all the way back down the field just to stop a pick six. I want that man playing on my team. I think Robert Redford deserves a Diva of the Week.
For a running back, a touchdown saving tackle is definitely a Diva moment. Gunny, are you around?
I am.
Gunny, who is your season 16 week 8 Diva of the Week nominee?
Much respect to the Sioux Falls Sparrows, Alex Parker with his pick six. Also with Cam Crosby on his safety play. I'm going to go with the hat trick from Jorge Torres of Tulsa as my Diva of the Week.
All right. So that's 5 down, 1 to go. That leaves it up to me. My season 16 week 8 Diva of the Week nominee is a gentleman who had 4 interceptions. But he not only had 4 interceptions, he had 4 interceptions in a 16-minute span. That's 1 interception for every 4 minutes. And it also catapulted him to number 1 in the SFL in interceptions. So did he have a Diva moment? No, he had 5 Diva moments. How do you vote against that? My Diva of the Week nominee for season 16 week 8, Succo Lamano. What's up? If he doesn't win, I'm shutting down the show. Just kidding. All right. Look at the math man himself saying, I know basic math. Hashtag math, Benji Matson. Word. Oh, hey, Hugo, I just saw you in there. Didn't you say earlier? What did you say earlier I wanted to comment on? Oh, I'll have to go back and scroll, but you said something I wanted to comment on. I'll get back to that. And yes, that is definitely, yes, that's a Diva moment. So I'm going to nominate myself for knowing how to do basic math for Diva of the Week every week until I mess up the math, I guess. All right. Diva of the Week's in the bag. Hopefully Eagle's around and he can do my poll for me. Pause. Oh, that's what it was, Hugo. I think you're right. So last week I mentioned that we have, we've got the badges now, but we had the emotes, and I made 4 of the 5, and I wanted to leave the 5th one up to you. And Hugo said in the chat earlier this evening that we need a pause emote. So I'll leave that up to you guys. If you guys think it's a good idea, let me know. If you think it's a shitty idea and Hugo's, wrong, let me know that too. All right, let's move on to Tyler. Tyler, as everybody knows, you have your own show. You split time between here, and I think you're on Ashley's show as well. You are a busy man in the SFL, my friend, including lots of tackles this weekend. So why don't you let everybody know tomorrow night at 8 p.m. what is next on NETMA?
Thank you, Dave. Next on NETMA, free falling. Look out below. St. Louis is falling fast. Are the Gladiators on pace to being the first team in SFL history to start a season 5-0 and miss the playoffs? And is Houston or Tulsa the team that will take their spot? Season shanked. Louisiana and Sioux Falls haven't had the seasons to remember. Why it's a must-win for either team this week. And which team has my vote to be the one team at or below 500 that will make the playoffs? Find out tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern on NETMA.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Also, don't forget, Kendra Hall is Tyler's co-host. That is 8 o'clock tomorrow evening on Tyler's Twitch channel. It looks like Eagle. Look at Eagle on the ball. I haven't even heard from him, but he's so loyal to me and the show and the whole process that he's already got the Diva voting up in the server. Eagle is the man. Eagle, thank you for that. Appreciate it. A quick update this week. Let me tell you, there's 7 people left for the survivor pool, right? Or 7 accounts, 7 plays, 7 whatever you want to call it. Johnny has 2. The rest of us all have 1. 2 weeks ago, Eagle and Yogi were eliminated. This week, Johnny had Denver on 1, Florida on another. And then Tom Rahman, Eddie Gage, Jack Wall, and Ray Ray, had Houston. So if Portland had pulled that upset off, it would have literally been Johnny with 2 plays and me with 1 left. But Houston had to break my heart as usual, and now we still have 7 people. So this graphic is the same graphic from last week. Entries, thank you, Tom Rahman, appreciate that. It's the same graphic from last week because nothing's changed. Here's the update though. Going into week 9 is a double pick. We all have to pick 2 teams to win. So I'm pretty sure that the survivor pool will probably end this week. So that's that. Now let's move on to something I don't even want to put on the screen yet because I want to ask each of the panelists before we get to it. Little small shakeup, you guys, in the playoff seedings this week. Ray, what happens if everyone's wrong? I don't know. Ask Johnny. I think we all split it. I have no idea. I'm guessing that's probably the case. We split it 7 ways, maybe. Here's the deal. Frank, I'll ask you first, and I'm going to ask everybody. Of teams that you saw in the playoffs last week, who do you think may have either dropped out of the playoffs or who do you think may have jumped into the playoffs based on week 8?
Well, first thing I want to say, I thought Tyler was singing "Free Ballin'," and I didn't know where he was going with that. But he was talking about St. Louis. Yeah, St. Louis has lost 3 in a row. And I don't want to speak on my team, but I am going to say that at 3 and 5, we're just 2 games out of the East, and if that slide continues for St. Louis, we have a chance. I don't think they're going to lose 5 in a row or 6 in a row or something like that. But if they do, it's opening up the door for anybody to win that East Division right there. As far as somebody possibly being in the playoffs and falling out or whatever, you got to look at Florida and Jacksonville. They're battling for that division title right there, and Charleston and Carolina are right behind them. So that's going to be an interesting division for me to watch as well.
Okay, Michael, what about you?
I mean, I agree with Frank. St. Louis is in a nosedive. However, I still think they can turn it around. I feel like San Diego might have a hard time making it. But anyways, I think as much as I'd hate to say it because I never want to go against the Hall of Famer, the Scorpions aren't trending in the right direction right now.
Okay. Bo Martin Jr., what about you? What are you thinking about who may have jumped in or who may have fallen out?
Well, Mike messed up what I was gonna say that I think San Diego might have jumped in, by playing so well, but I don't know. But anyway, but honestly, I think that as far as teams that have maybe jumped in, I really think that Tulsa may have made a case to at least deserve a playoff spot, and if they continue trending up, this division may have at least 3, if not 4 teams representing in the playoffs, which would be unheard of.
Well, I will tell you this, Bo Martin Jr., as I move on to Tyler.
You didn't ask my other one, though. But
oh, go ahead. What's your other one? Sorry.
My other team that I was going to say is trending out of the playoff, unfortunately, and this team's they know I got love for them. I used to play for them. London, I'm a little bit concerned because this was a game that they really need because it seems like there's a huge difference between 4-4 and 3-5. And in just this season, it feels like that is huge. And so for them to take that step back by losing to Tulsa, that's going to be tough to overcome because right now there's a bunch of teams at 4-4 who are fighting for playoff spots. And I feel like if London doesn't figure out what they're doing with Robert Merrill, they got a problem.
Well, let me tell you this, Bo Martin Jr., as I move on to Tyler. 2 things. Number 1, there are 2 4-4 teams in the playoffs right now. Everybody else is better than 4-4. That means there's a grip of 4-4 teams not in the playoffs. That's number 1. Number 2, the difference between 4th place and 17th place meaning 5 spots out of a playoff spot, is 1 game. So it's going to be crazy. So Tyler, all of that being said, who do you see that may have jumped in or someone who may have fallen out this week? And then I will pull the graphic up and we'll talk about it.
You know, Dave, I was going to say maybe Tulsa jumped in, but I think Tulsa is going to be right there on the edge, one of the unlucky 4-4 teams here at this stage. I'm going to also go another team from that division maybe jumping out. I think Atlanta may have just jumped out based on their strength of schedule, if I did the math right in my head, but we all know that 2 + 2 = fish, so who knows? But I think Arizona is probably still in the playoff picture. I don't think any team really, stands out to me that jumped in.
Okay. All right, you guys ready to see this? I'm going to tell you that I know of at least one team that jumped in and at least one team that fell out. The rest we'll have to kind of figure out as we talk about it. You'll see the 12 teams, but you'll also see at the bottom teams 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 because they all have the same record. All right, you guys ready for this? Oh, I just had it ready and then I messed it up. Hold on. Look at me, buying time. Look at keeping everybody in suspense. I just want to see the playoffs. All right. Where the hell is the playoffs? I lost it. Oh, all right. I guess we don't get any playoffs. No, I'm just kidding. All right. There it is, folks. All right. Denver stays number 1. Florida stays number 2. Mexico City and LA, the top 4. Baltimore drops to 5. St. Louis 6. Vancouver 7. Houston 8. Jacksonville 9, Fort Worth 10, Atlanta 11, and Lone Star 12. That puts the entire South Division in the playoffs at this point, with Mexico City, Fort Worth, Houston, and Lone Star all in the playoffs. If you look at the very bottom of that side of the graph, 13th is Arizona, 14 is Charleston, 15 is Carolina, 16 is Las Vegas, and 17 is Tulsa. All teams, I believe, that are at 4-4. So let me pull up. Cam sent me some notes, like he did last week, that I want to read to you about this playoff seeding. He says, Los Angeles was the big mover up to 3rd spot, with the best strength of victory over other 5-3 division winners. They have wins over Houston, Vancouver, Atlanta, and Vegas, teams that are all 500 or better right now. Baltimore falls out of the top 4 for the first time. Baltimore has now lost 2 games in a row. They have never lost 3 games in a row in their franchise history, and they play Queen City this week. Houston and Vancouver, big movers into the top 8. And 4th place and 17th place, like I said, are separated by only 1 game between records 5-3 and 4-4. Here's a few games that are coming up for week 9 that have playoff implications. Number 1, Denver is playing number 11, Atlanta. Number 2, Florida plays number 7, Vancouver. Number 3, Mexico City plays number 12, Lone Star. Number 4, LA plays number 9, Jacksonville. Number 8, Houston plays number 10, Fort Worth. That's going to be a huge game. And then 4-4 Tulsa plays number 6, St. Louis. And 2 4-4 teams that are just on the cusp, Vegas plays Arizona. So, Frank, let me start with you. Now that you've seen this, what do you make of this playoff shuffle? And what do you think about that SFL South Division? Oh, you're muted, bro. Frank, you're muted. I think you're muted. Let me double check you. I don't hear you anyway. Can anybody else?
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, there you go. You're muted, bro.
I felt like Gunny for a second.
There you go.
But I'm impressed with the South Division, all 4 in play right now. But that's going to end up changing. One thing, did you mention Florida playing Vancouver? That's going to be an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, that was one of the things we just mentioned.
Okay. I think the strength of schedule, I'm not sure, the formula for all that. Cam's got that all figured out. But I believe in our locker room, it was mentioned that our strength of schedule was like one of the toughest or hardest strength of schedule. So at 3 and 5, like I said earlier, there's still a possibility that Louisiana could sneak in there as well. But if if Atlanta plays and gives games away like they did this weekend, I'd look for them to maybe slide out.
Okay. Mike All, what do you think, bro?
I mean, the South Division is really impressive right now, but I don't think it ends up with all four in. I'm not going to say who, but one of them I feel like might just drop out.
Well, with everybody having to play each other still too, right? So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But yeah, like Frank said, I think Florida, Vancouver, and Jacksonville against Los Angeles this week it might flip flop some things in the teams that are in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I also, Bo, I like this Houston Fort Worth game in our division, which could either help us or hurt us depending on if we win or lose. What do you think when you see this whole shuffle up and Lone Star actually being back in the playoff hunt?
Yeah, the South Division has got to be the toughest division in the SFL right now. You got every team above 500, and now's where it gets interesting because a win for us puts us at 5-4 and drops Mexico City to 6-3. One of the two, Fort Worth versus Houston, is also going to be 6-3. So that, and then the other one's going to be 5-4. So that means
Wow.
we could potentially have all four teams above 500. As well as a tie for first and a tie for second. So the South Division could get really interesting. So, I'm not going to say which one of the who I'm rooting for the Fort Worth or Houston team because I wish there was a way they could both lose. Maybe it'll end in a tie. I don't know. But,
in a tie where and then the Xbox or the power goes out and they have to take a tie. I'm down with that, bro. I'm down with that.
But
what do you think about that, Marco Swift? How you like them apples?
That's going to be a game to watch. And then another thing to watch out of the West, don't look now, but Denver's on the verge of clinching their division.
Yeah. Tyler, as you look at the Pacific Division, we've all talked about how in the preseason, we're like, oh, this is Vancouver's division to lose. LA came out like gangbusters. Then LA kind of hit a little skid, but they're kind of back on. But Vancouver's also on. So how do you see that Pacific Division coming out? And then also, what's your take on 1 through 12, or actually 1 through 17 that you see on the right side?
Yeah, I mean, Pacific Division is throwing everybody for a lot of loops with Los Angeles playing really well to start the season, Vancouver struggling early. Now we're having a little bit of resurgence. LA does have, a victory over Vancouver. So if they end up tied, at the end of the season, Los Angeles takes the division.
Right.
So Vancouver's really got to do their part to get every single win here on out to, put the pressure on Los Angeles to do the same. And now when I'm looking at other divisions, the comment was made about the Atlantic Division. Atlantic Division looks solid too. Carolina and Charleston just barely out of the playoffs. I've harped on Carolina numerous times, thinking they're a little bit overrated. They came out and beat Baltimore. They came out and beat, at one point the number one team, this season and the defending champions. So, Carolina has really changed a couple things around, have made themselves a little bit of a better team. So, who knows that Atlantic Division, if Florida slip up and Jacksonville slip up, who knows? Carolina, Charleston could have a shot at the division lead too.
Right.
And then just real quickly, I think, if there's any team to really fall out of the South Division, it's going to be tough. I agree with, I think it was Frank who said that not everybody's going to make the playoffs. And I also believe that probably one or two teams will not make the playoffs this season. And right now, Fort Worth, struggling two straight losses, and Lone Star sitting there at 4-4. If either team slips up, they're both out.
Yeah, Alan just chimed in. So the bottom Atlantic team beat the top team in Pacific and South Division. Which division is the strongest? But Alan, I would also argue that Lone Star, who is technically the last team in South, beat the number 1 and number 2 team in the Atlantic Division. So it's not just tight within divisions; it's tight all the way across the board. Frank, let me go back to you. Last round of questions before we wrap everything up. To Alan's point, I guess technically, if Lone Star and Atlanta lose this week and Carolina and Charleston win, it could flip-flop, and the Atlantic team or Atlantic Division could all of a sudden have all 4 teams in the playoffs. I think Atlantic and South are the 2 strongest divisions. Do you agree or disagree, and why or why not?
I do agree with you. I don't see I don't see all four teams from one division making it, regardless of what division it is. But I do agree with you that it is a strong team. The division I think is strongest is the South. No disrespect to the others, but I do think y'all's division is strong with Mexico City, Fort Worth, and
Houston.
help me out here. Houston and Mexico City. I think those are four very good teams that are, Houston's on a 3-game win streak, and Fort Worth is kind of up and down, but I mean, they're still 5-3, and y'all fixing to play each other too. That's just going to, that's going to be some battles right there in the upcoming weeks.
It really is. Mike All, what do you think about this North Division? Baltimore is kind of on the downslide right now. We thought they were going to run away with this division. London kind of on the downs as well. DC, of course, only 1-7. Queen City up and down every single week. Do you see a scenario where Baltimore could lose a couple games and either London or Queen City could overtake the North Division?
I think there really is a chance now. Is it a strong chance? I can't say that it's a yes, but I did pick London to have 6 wins this season, and I think they do get there by possibly beating Baltimore once at least this year. Is it anybody else's division but Baltimore? I don't think so. I think Baltimore still makes the playoffs as the division winner in the North. Queen City, I know we just beat them this week, but they're definitely a lot stronger than what their record shows. And then we have DC, who, hey, that one win against LSG, that's something to write home about.
It really is. It is. So, Bo Martin Jr., we've talked about the Pacific, we've talked about the Atlantic, we've talked about the South, we've talked about the North. Let me talk to you about the East Division. St. Louis started off 5-0. They've now lost 3 in a row. Atlanta was making a surge. They just lost this last. They lost. What did they lose? 22-20. Barely lost to LA. And Tulsa, being an up and comer, like we talked about, being 4-4, already better on track to being better than last season. And then at the bottom of this division, you have a Louisiana team that is starting to come on and can win out. Could the East end up being the most competitive division, and how many teams could they put in the playoffs?
I don't think so, Dave. I don't think it'll end up being the most competitive, only because they've got to play each other as we get towards the end of the season. So somebody's got to lose, right?
Right.
And so shout out to Atlanta, first of all, for doubling up on the win total on Tyler there. They're already at 4 wins on the season and in second place in the division. So I believe it's going to be a race, right? I don't believe anybody's going to run away with it. Like I was saying, Denver could actually potentially clinch next week, depending on they could clinch their division next week possibly. But as far, I don't think it's going to be a runaway like that. But St. Louis is still in the driver's seat, but they can't slip at all because Atlanta looks really good. And all 3 of the bottom team, all 3 of the teams looking up at St. Louis, they all have a possibility. There's nothing to say Louisiana can't get at least another 3 or 4 victories out of this. And if they end up at 6-6 or 7-5, that gives them a solid shot at the playoffs. But like I said, if they end up at 7-5, one of the 2 teams above them are going to be below them because they're going to have to beat them to get there.
So as I'm looking at the Week 9 schedule, Bo, I'm going to follow up on this before I go to Tyler and ask him about the West Division. I'm looking at Tulsa. Where'd they go? I just lost them. Hold on. I had them. Tulsa plays St. Louis, okay? And then Louisiana plays Sioux Falls, which is a winnable game. Atlanta, unfortunately, has to play Denver. If Tulsa beats St. Louis, that makes both teams 5-4. If Atlanta wins, they're 5-4. Otherwise, they drop to 4-5. Louisiana, best case scenario, is 4-5. This is a scenario that could put Tulsa in first place in the East Division after Week 9.
It's also a scenario that could put Louisiana in second place. So let's think about that for a minute.
Dude, it's crazy, right? And it's only going to get crazier every single week we talk about this, Bo.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, let's move on to the West Division. Last question of the night. Denver, obviously the best team, #1 power ranking, best team, best record, the whole 9 yards, #1 in the playoffs. Arizona just out of the playoffs. Is it really that much of a gap in the West where only one team is going to make the playoffs?
We know anything can happen here in the SFL. So, Arizona could win out and Denver could lose out and Arizona takes the division. But the way I have it broken down here, Dave, if I did my math correctly, Denver has already beaten Arizona.
Okay.
So if both teams win this coming week, Denver will be 8-1, Arizona will be 5-4. It will already be out of Arizona's hands at that point.
Well, and Arizona plays Vegas, so Las Vegas would even drop to 4-5, right? So would that put Vegas out of it?
That would put Vegas out of the ability for them to win the division. This is I'm going through division clinching scenarios.
Okay,
right now,
all right,
Dave.
go ahead.
So if Arizona beats Las Vegas and Denver, they play
Atlanta
this week.
Yep.
Okay. If both those teams win, Denver has clinched the division. If both those teams win next week. If Las Vegas wins and Denver wins, lost my thought. Then it comes down to week 12 because that's when Las Vegas will play Denver for the first time.
Assuming Denver loses some more in between and Vegas wins some more, right?
Well, even if they win out,
right?
Even if
Vegas
Las Vegas wins out,
if
and Denver
Vegas wins
yes,
out,
yes.
If Vegas wins out, Denver would still have to lose a couple games though.
They would have to lose their next. They would have to lose
two more games before week 12, right? Okay. I'm thinking highly unlikely. Tyler, what do you think?
I'm thinking very unlikely. I think Denver, within the next 2 weeks, should have the first playoff spot locked up.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, everybody, let's see. Is that Doyle? I have no clue how a 4-8 team can make the playoffs mathematically. 4-8. I don't think anybody said 4-8, Doyle. I think they're talking about if they win out and before week 12 is what he was talking about. Let me see if there's any other quick. How many first-year teams are currently in playoff contention? Tom Rahman asked. First-year teams, LA obviously is. Where are the other ones at? San Diego is not. And where's my other one at?
DC.
DC is not.
DC's
so
eliminated.
LA. I'm guessing that Tom Rahman was probably trying to be rhetorical with that, so we could talk about LA being the only new team in playoff contention. Attaboy, Tom. Way to go. Get some better flat bills with a bigger logo, and we'll talk. All right. That wraps up the After Dark portion, the playoff portion of Season 16, Episode 16, on the 16th of March of Access Live. Ray's like, what? Oh, Ray, you got to look at your hats, girl. I'm telling you, Tom and I talked about it today. I want a flat bill. I want an LA flat bill, but you got to make the logo bigger. Anyway, that being said, I do like Arizona's flat bill too. I think I might be getting me an Arizona black flat bill with a "What Up Doe" T-shirt. So I think I'm gonna have to just invest in a bunch of SFL gear so I can start wearing SFL gear on every show. That's the plan. So all of that being said, I think it's time to get the hell out of here. If I can learn how to work this board and talk at the same time. This is like chewing gum and walking at the same time. It's not an easy thing. It's not as easy as it looks, folks. Just saying. All right. I want to give thanks to Frank the Franchise Wade, Mike All, Bo Martin Jr., Tyler Falk, and, of course, the wisest man in the SFL, Gunny, with his pearls of wisdom. We will be right back here with your Week 9 previews in less than 48 hours on Thursday, right here on Twitch at 9 p.m. when we do what? We see you at the tees. See you later, everybody.